She says she's moved on, but every man she meets is quietly being compared to you. At first, she doesn't notice it happening. It's subtle, almost automatic. A conversation feels flat, and she can't explain why. A moment that should feel exciting doesn't land the way she expected. She tells herself it's just timing, just chemistry, just bad luck. But beneath the surface, something familiar keeps showing up, a silent comparison she never consciously agreed to make. Every new man becomes measured against the emotional experience she had with you, not just how you looked or what you did, but how she felt in your presence. The way you listened without trying to impress, the way you stayed grounded when things got emotional, the way you made her feel understood without having to over explain herself. And that's the part she didn't expect to miss because it wasn't flashy, it was consistent. She might enjoy the attention from others, but it doesn't feel the same. Some try too hard, some feel distant, some lack depth. And slowly she realizes that what she's searching for isn't a person, it's a feeling, a standard that was quietly set when she was with you. You became the baseline without ever announcing it, and now everything else feels slightly off. This is where the contradiction begins. She tells herself she doesn't miss you, yet her mind keeps referencing you. She insists she's over it, yet no one seems to measure up. And because she doesn't want to admit that you mattered more than she realized, she reframes it. She says the timing was wrong. She says she just hasn't met the right person yet. She says she's being too picky. But deep down, she knows the truth. The connection you shared raised the bar. What makes this even harder for her is that she didn't expect you to be rare. She thought what you offered was replaceable, that your presence was common. That emotional stability, patience, and leadership could be found anywhere. But now she's discovering that most people don't show up the way you did. Most people don't bring calm without control, confidence without ego, strength without force. So the comparisons continue, not because she wants them to, but because emotional memory doesn't ask for permission. It simply reminds. And every time someone falls short, it quietly reinforces what she lost, even if she'll never say your name out loud. And the truth is, when someone becomes a standard, they're never fully gone. They live on in every comparison that follows. When you were still part of her daily life, everything felt loud. There were conversations, emotions, reactions, expectations. Even the difficult moments had energy in them. There's always something happening, something to respond to, something to process. And because of that, she never really felt the weight of what you meant to her. Your presence filled the space so completely that she didn't notice how much of her emotional world was built around you. But once you're gone, the noise disappears, the messages stop, the familiar voice is missing, the rhythm of connection breaks, and at first she tells herself this is peace. She says she finally has space, freedom, clarity, no more tension, no more misunderstandings, no more emotional responsibility. It feels lighter, at least on the surface. Then the silence settles in, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy kind, the kind that lingers in quiet moments, late nights, long drives, empty space between distractions. And in that silence, she starts feeling something she didn't expect: absence. Not just of you as a person, but of the emotional presence you brought into her life. She realizes the relationship wasn't just about interaction, it was about emotional stimulation, the way you challenged her, the way you grounded her, the way you gave her something real to react to. Without that, everything feels flat, conversations feel shallow, connections feel temporary, and the quiet becomes uncomfortable because there's nothing filling the emotional space you once occupied. This is where the contradiction deepens. She wanted space, but now she feels empty. She wanted calm, but now she feels disconnected. The very thing she thought would bring relief is now exposing what's missing. And because silence doesn't distract, it forces reflection. She starts replaying memories not out of nostalgia, but out of emotional need. Her mind looks for the familiar because the present feels incomplete. She may not consciously say she misses you, but her behavior reveals it. She stays busier than usual. She fills her schedule. She keeps herself entertained because the moment she slows down, the silence reminds her of what she lost, not the arguments, not the problems, but the emotional depth that made everything feel alive. And that's the hardest part for her to admit. Your presence gave her emotional texture. It made life feel dynamic, connected, and meaningful. Without you, the emotional volume is lower, everything is quieter, and in that quiet, she finally understands that what she thought was freedom is actually absence. So while she may never say it out loud, the truth shows up in the silence because when the absence feels heavier than the relationship ever did, that's when missing you becomes unavoidable. It always starts with something small, a song she didn't choose but suddenly feels, a place she passes without meaning to, a phrase someone says that sounds just like something you used to say. And for a moment, she's not in the present anymore. She's back in a memory, not because she want to go there, but because emotional memory works faster than logic. These triggers don't ask permission. They don't care about her intentions or the story she tells herself about being over you. They simply appear and bring a feeling with them, a feeling she recognizes immediately, the way she felt when she was with you, the comfort, the connection, the emotional safety, and suddenly she's thinking about you without planning to. What makes this so powerful is that it's involuntary. She could go hours or days without consciously thinking about you, but one emotional trigger pulls you right back into her mind. And not as a neutral thought, but as an emotional experience. She doesn't just remember you, she feels you. And that feeling is what exposes the truth she doesn't want to admit. She might smile for a second or feel a tightness in her chest or feel a quiet wave of sadness she can't explain, and she quickly pushes it away. She distracts herself, changes the song, scrolls her phone, talks to someone else. Because staying with that feeling means acknowledging that you still matter emotionally. The interesting part is these triggers don't bring back the bad moments. They bring back the emotional highlights, the laughter, the deep conversations, the moments where she felt understood, the version of herself that existed when she was with you. And that's what she really misses, not just you as a person, but who she was when she was connected to you. She might tell herself it's just nostalgia, that everyone feels this sometimes, that memories don't mean anything. But deep down, she knows it's more than that because the emotional reaction is too strong to be random. It's not just remembering, it's reconnecting with a feeling she hasn't been able to replace. And this is where the conflict lies. She doesn't want to reach out. She doesn't want to reopen and admit she misses you. But she also can't stop these emotional reminders from happening. They show up in quiet moments, in unexpected ways, and they always point back to the same truth. Something meaningful is gone. So she carries it silently. She lets the feeling pass without naming it. She keeps living her life, meeting people, staying busy. But every time an emotional trigger brings you back, it reinforces the same message. You're still emotionally present in her world, even if she pretends you're not. And when someone keeps returning in your emotional memory without effort, without intention, without choice, that's not just remembering, that's missing them in a way that can't be controlled. One of the clearest signs she misses you is the shift in her behavior that she doesn't even recognize as emotional. On the surface, she seems fine. She's active, social, posting, engaging, meeting people. To anyone watching from the outside, it looks like she's moving forward with her life. But if you look closer, the energy behind her actions is different. It's not grounded. It's reactive. She starts doing more than she used to, more outings, more social plans, more distractions, not because she's suddenly happier, but because she's trying to stay ahead of a feeling she doesn't want to face. When someone truly feels complete, they don't need constant stimulation. They're comfortable with stillness. But when someone is running from emotional emptiness, they fill every gap with noise. This is where the pattern becomes clear. She's not seeking connection, she's avoiding reflection. Every plan is a way to not sit with her thoughts. Every new interaction is a way to not feel the silence. Every busy moment is a way to not remember you. And the irony is, the harder she tries to distract herself, the more obvious it becomes that something is missing because distraction doesn't come from fullness, it comes from lack. People who feel emotionally settled don't need to prove they're okay, they just are. But she needs movement, she needs activity, she needs external validation because internally there's a gap she doesn't know how to fill. She might start seeking attention in subtle ways, posting more, sharing more, flirting more, not because she suddenly changed, but because she wants to feel desired again. She wants to feel that emotional pull, that sense of being seen, that feeling of importance. And without you, she's trying to recreate it through quantity instead of depth. But quantity never replaces quality. She meets people, talks, laughs, goes out, but none of it sticks. Nothing feels anchored. Nothing feels real because the emotional connection she had with you wasn't just interaction, it was presence, it was depth, it was consistency. And now she's surrounded by stimulation but starving for meaning. This is why her behavior becomes restless. She's not chasing joy, she's escaping stillness. She's not exploring life, she's filling space. And the more she fills it, the more she realizes something essential is gone, the emotional center she used to orbit around. She may never label this as missing you. She may call it boredom or loneliness or a phase or a need for change, but behavior never lies. People don't become hyper busy when they're fulfilled. They become hyper busy when they're avoiding a feeling they don't want to name. So every distraction, every plan, every moment of noise is actually pointing to the same silent truth. She's trying to run from the emotional absence you left behind, and no amount of activity can replace what once made her feel emotionally at home. There comes a moment when the outside world stops working the way she hoped it would. The attention doesn't feel as satisfying, the new connections don't feel as exciting, the validation doesn't hit the same. And slowly, without any dramatic event, something shifts internally. She starts questioning her own story. At first, she was confident in her decision. She believed leaving was the right move. That distance would bring clarity. That time would make everything easier. And for a while, it did. Emotionally, she felt lighter, less responsibility, less intensity, less vulnerability. But what she didn't realize is that she also removed the very thing that gave her emotional depth. Now, with enough time passed, she begins to reevaluate not just the relationship, but herself within it. She starts asking quiet questions she avoided before. Was I too impulsive? Did I take him for granted? Did I misinterpret his intentions? Did I walk away from something real because I was focused on temporary feelings? This is the stage where regret begins to form, not the dramatic kind, but the subtle, reflective kind, the kind that shows up late at night, the kind that doesn't seek attention, but seeks truth. She's no longer blaming you. She's looking inward, and that's the moment everything changes. Because when someone shifts from blaming to reflecting, emotional ownership begins. She stops rewriting the past to protect her ego. She starts seeing the relationship with clearer eyes, the good, the stability, the effort, the emotional safety you provided. And she realizes something uncomfortable. You didn't fail her the way she once believed. In many ways, she failed to recognize what she had. This is where the emotional contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. She left to feel better, but now she feels emptier. She wanted freedom, but now she feels disconnected. She wanted something different, but now she realizes she may have walked away from something rare. And the hardest part, she knows you didn't force her to leave. You didn't beg. You didn't chase. You respected her choice. You let her go, which means the responsibility now sits entirely with her. There's no one else to blame, no external reason, just her decision and its emotional consequences. This is where regret gains emotional weight, not because she wants the relationship back immediately, but because she finally understands what she lost. She understands that real connection isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, it isn't always exciting. It's stable, it's grounding, it's emotionally safe. And those things only feel valuable once they're gone. She may still pretend she's fine, she may still act independent, but internally, the story has changed. She's no longer convincing herself she made the right choice. She's questioning whether she let go of something she won't easily find again. And once someone reaches that stage, the idea of you doesn't just feel nostalgic, it feels unresolved. Eventually, all the emotions she's been avoiding converge into one quiet realization. You didn't disappear from her life, you became a reference point. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way she talks about, but in the way her mind keeps returning to you when she least expects it. When something good happens, she wonders how you would have reacted. When something feels off, she remembers how safe she once felt. And when she feels misunderstood, she remembers how natural it was to be herself around you. This is the stage where missing you becomes personal, not emotional chaos, but emotional clarity. She's no longer confused. She's no longer distracted. She's no longer rewriting the story. She sees the pattern now. You weren't just someone she dated, you were someone who knew her, accepted her, and made her feel emotionally seen. And that's when the urge to reach out starts forming, not because she's lonely, not because she's desperate, but because she feels something unresolved, a sense that something meaningful ended without true closure. She starts thinking about what she would say, how she'd phrase it, whether it would be awkward, whether you'd even care anymore. And the thought that scares her most isn't rejection, it's that you might have genuinely moved on, because if you've moved on, it confirms the one thing she's been avoiding, that she lost something real. This is where ego and emotion collide. Her ego wants to stay silent, to protect her pride, to maintain the image that she's fine, independent, unaffected. But her emotions want honesty, they want connection, they want to feel that emotional familiarity again. And for the first time, emotion starts winning. She doesn't know if reaching out will lead to anything. She doesn't know if you'd respond the same way. She doesn't know if the timing is right, but she knows one thing: pretending you don't matter anymore feels harder than admitting that you still do. So she tests the waters. Maybe she checks your profile. Maybe she asks about you indirectly. Maybe she sends a casual message that looks harmless on the surface, something simple, something light, something that doesn't reveal too much. But emotionally, it means everything because that message isn't about conversation. It's about reconnection. It's about reopening a door she thought she closed. It's about seeing if the emotional bond still exists on your side, too. And the truth is, people don't reach out to memories. They reach out to people who still live in their emotional world. They reach out when someone still represents safety, familiarity, depth, and meaning. So if she ever comes back, it won't be loud, it won't be dramatic, it will be subtle, cautious, and emotionally loaded. Because by the time she admits she misses you, she's already accepted something internally. You were never just a chapter in her past, you were someone she never truly replaced.